Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I've got to tell you, sitting here thinking about what's unfolding on General Hospital these days, I feel like I'm watching one of those old American thrillers where everything looks calm for a second and then suddenly the floor drops right under your feet. Now, this whole situation with Jocelyn Jacks really caught my attention. I remember when she used to feel like just another young character finding her way around Port Charles, but now she's stepping into something completely different. Her WSB training isn't just background noise anymore. It's actually being tested in real situations. And as someone who's followed these kinds of stories for years, I've got to say that kind of shift always changes the whole tone of a character. It's like watching someone grow up, but in the middle of danger, where every choice actually matters. What I find most interesting is how she keeps getting pulled into Windermere. That place alone has always had this heavy, uneasy feeling about it. You know what I mean? It's one of those locations in Port Charles where you just expect trouble before anyone even says a word. And now Jocelyn is not just visiting it, she's dealing with real threats there. I can almost picture her walking through those tense moments, staying alert, reading every detail, trying to stay one step ahead while everything around her feels unstable. And here's what really gets me thinking. This isn't just random danger. Ross Cullum is right at the center of it all. From what I understand, he's not just trying to survive anymore. He's trying to escape Spoon Island, and he's dragging serious secrets with him, including connections to Britt Westbourne and Liesl Obrecht. Now, when you start mixing names like that into one escape plan, you already know things are going to get messy. I've watched enough of these stories to know when powerful people start moving in the shadows, it never stays controlled for long. What makes Cullum even more dangerous right now is the pressure he's under. Word is his double agent identity is about to be exposed. And that, in my experience watching these kinds of storylines, is the exact moment when people stop thinking clearly, they stop planning carefully, they start reacting, and that's when things go from calculated to chaotic real fast. I can almost imagine him realizing the walls are closing in, trying to grab whatever advantage he has left, thinking escape is still possible if he just moves fast enough. But here's where things get really intense for me as a viewer, because when a character like Cullum hits that breaking point, they rarely go down quietly. Instead, they try to take control of the situation in the most extreme way possible. And the idea that he might still attempt to continue the cold fusion project somewhere else, that tells me he's not just running, he's trying to preserve something dangerous, something that could create even bigger consequences down the line. That kind of mindset always makes the stakes feel higher, because it's not just about stopping one man anymore, it's about stopping what he represents. Now, I've got to talk about Jocelyn again here, because this is where her story really starts to feel different. The writers Elizabeth Corte and Chris Van Etten made it clear she's not going to face this alone forever. There's going to be unexpected help showing up at the worst possible moment, and I'll be honest with you, that kind of twist always gets me. Because in real life, and even in these stories, it's often those last-minute connections, those surprise alliances that change everything. And when that help arrives, it sounds like it's going to give Jocelyn exactly what she needs, not just to survive, but to actually take control of the situation. That's a big deal. We're not talking about running away or escaping anymore. We're talking about confronting Cullum directly, possibly ending his run for good right there on Spoon Island. Now, I can't ignore what the writers teased, a bloody final battle on Spoon Island. That phrase alone tells me we're not heading into something neat or clean. This is going to be messy, emotional, and probably painful for everyone involved. But that's also what makes these moments stick with you, because when everything is on the line like this, you see who people really are under pressure. And I'll tell you something, honestly, I'll be watching closely when this all unfolds, because Jocelyn stepping into that kind of confrontation with everything she's learned, finally being tested in the real world, feels like one of those turning points you don't forget. It's not just another storyline anymore. It feels like a moment where everything she's been through finally leads to something big, something irreversible, and maybe even something a little dangerous in ways she doesn't fully realize yet. Jocelyn Jacks stepping deeper into this WSB world. Well, I'll be honest. I've watched her long enough to remember when she was just dealing with everyday drama, family ups and downs, nothing like this. But now she's in situations where every move she makes carries weight. And when I hear that her heroic actions are putting her directly into Z's line of sight, that immediately tells me this isn't just about survival anymore. It's about being noticed by the wrong kind of power. And in this world, being noticed by someone like Z is never just a compliment. It's a shift in destiny, whether she's ready for it or not. What really sticks with me is that line about her potentially holding the fate of many people once everything is over. That's not small talk. That's the kind of thing that changes how a person walks through life afterward. I've seen enough of these stories to know that when someone young like Jocelyn gets pushed into that kind of responsibility, they don't just walk away the same person. Even if she wins, there's always a cost tucked behind it somewhere, waiting to show itself later when things get quiet. And then there's Ross Cullum. Now, I've got this gut feeling watching all of this unfold that he's not the type to go down easily. People like him, when they realize everything is collapsing, when they know their identity is exposed and there's nowhere left to hide, they don't think like normal folks. They start thinking in terms of damage control, escape, and if they can't win, then they try to take something valuable with them. And in this case, that something sounds like a very dangerous project that could cause real destruction if it falls into the wrong hands or gets moved somewhere else. That's where things start feeling tense for me. Because Jocelyn isn't just dealing with a man running away, she's dealing with someone who might be willing to burn everything down just to keep control of what he's built. And I don't care how fast you think on your feet, that kind of opponent forces you into situations where every second counts. Now, I also can't ignore the possibility of outside help arriving at the worst possible moment. And I say worst because in these stories, help always shows up when things are already boiling over. Maybe it's Z stepping in, getting tangled up in the chaos, whether he planned to or not. Or maybe it's Carly Spencer coming in with that fierce, no-nonsense energy she's always had when it comes to protecting her daughter. I've always felt Carly is the kind of person who doesn't wait for permission. She acts first and asks questions later. And honestly, that kind of attitude can either save the day or make everything more complicated. But through all of that noise, what really stands out to me is Jocelyn herself. Because despite all the danger, despite being pulled into WSB level operations and life or death choices, she's still at the center of it all. And I can't help but think that this is exactly the kind of moment that defines her future. If she's the one who brings Cullum down, if she's the one who prevents something catastrophic from being taken or unleashed, then that changes how everyone in Port Charles sees her. Not just as Carly's daughter anymore, but as someone who can stand on her own in a very dangerous world. Still, I keep coming back to one thought that won't leave me alone. Victories like this in Port Charles never come clean. Even when you do the right thing, even when you save lives, there's always someone watching, judging, or planning what comes next. And if Z really does take interest in her afterward, then that opens a whole new chapter that might be even more complicated than the battle she's about to face. So when I look at everything building here, the chase, the danger, Cullum's desperation, Jocelyn stepping up, Carly possibly stepping in, and Z watching from the sidelines, I just get this feeling like we're heading into one of those story arcs people will be talking about for a long time. Because in this town, nothing ever ends with just one battle. It always spills over into the next one.